Have you ever had to make an online quiz? Well, it's not easy. Ever since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, distance learning has completely taken over. The pandemic sent about 1.2 billion students out of the classroom and back home. Teachers had to think fast and move their classroom curriculum online, including tests and quizzes. Luckily, there are a lot of ways you can pose a question to students to test their knowledge virtually. Today, we'll be going over 7 types of questions that you can incorporate into your online quizzes. I'm Alex with Jotform. Let's get started. First up, multiple choice questions. They are the most popular and effective way of testing your students' knowledge. This method consists of you posing a question and offering several potential answers. It is up to the student to choose the right one. The answer should not be easy for students to guess, and there should be only one best answer out of the choices. Don't make the options too similar to one another, as it will be nearly impossible for students to decide correctly. And try to avoid the none of the above answer, because it's hard for these types of questions to accurately show if a student knows the correct answer or not. If a student does not know the answer to a question, they are more likely to guess none of the above, so use this option sparingly. Next is true or false. This is an extremely straightforward type of question. They simply have to decide whether a statement that you have provided is true or false. When implementing true or false questions, it's important to leave out any opinions or personal interpretations from the question. Try using them when testing a student on a fact, concept, example, or principle. Make your statement as clear as possible. If it's too vague, students will have a harder time discerning whether it's true or not. Focusing each question on one idea or principle will help you to determine what your student does or does not understand. Now we have short answer questions. Rather than asking a question and giving students multiple options for the right answer, short answer questions require the students to come up with the correct answer on their own. Students need to fully rely on their own knowledge with these questions. It's harder for them to guess since they aren't being supplied with the right answer. When writing questions like these, make sure they are direct and clear so that only one answer can be correct. That way, you can avoid accepting an answer that could be correct in a broadly defined situation. Up next is multiple response questions. These are similar to multiple choice in that you are supplying students with multiple options, but instead of choosing only one option, students need to select all of the correct answers that are present. This is also more challenging since students don't know how many answers presented are correct. The correct answers should be randomly presented in the mix of choices, and be sure to avoid a large number of correct responses to each question. This question type should be used sparingly, as you wouldn't want your quiz to become too predictable. Next is fill-in-the-blank questions. They are similar to short answer questions since students have to supply the answer on their own, but this time they are given a statement and have to complete the statement with the correct word or phrase. Just like with the short answer questions, make sure there is only one correct answer that can be given. You want your students to understand the statement and know the single answer that should be provided. And be sure to limit the number of blanks per question to about 1 or 2. This will maintain the integrity of the question and avoid confusion among your students. You want to make it challenging, but not challenging to the point that your students don't know what you're asking. Now on to one of the more challenging question types. The essay question. This should be reserved for testing your students' critical thinking skills and evaluating student reasoning. This requires your students to really think for themselves. They are great for testing students' overall understanding of different concepts, but they should not be used for testing students' ability to recall specific facts. This is also a good opportunity to ask students a more opinion-based question and see how they can expand on the concept taught in class. Once again, make sure you state the question clearly and precisely, and make sure you give students an adequate amount of time, as essay questions take a longer amount of time for students to complete and for teachers to grade. The last type of question is matching. In this scenario, students are given a set of phrases or concepts that go along with several words. It's important that your directions are clear with this type of question. You could use directions like match each vocabulary word in column A with a definition from column B. Something to avoid is perfect matching. This is when you give students the same number of responses in both column A and column B. This would allow students to rely on the process of elimination, which would not truly test their knowledge on a subject. You can avoid this by giving them a greater number of responses than premises, or give a greater number of premises and have each response used more than once. Whichever you choose, make sure your directions are clear. So, the 7 question types we talked about today were multiple choice, true or false, short answer, multiple response, fill in the blank, essay, and matching. The best way to test your students when using distance learning is to vary the types of questions you ask them. Utilizing different question formats will allow you to evaluate different aspects of your students' knowledge and help you improve your lesson plans for the future. Thank you for watching today. I hope that this video was helpful. I'm Alex with Jotform. Have a good one.